everybody, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you might be joining us from in the world today. My name is Meg Alexander. I am, as always, honored and excited to get to host another Power to Fly Chat and Learn virtual event. My pronouns, sorry, are she, her, and hers. I usually jump those up at the top. And if you would like a visual descriptor, I am a 39-year-old white woman with pink and purple hair, a black t-shirt, and black glasses. All right, now, very excited to welcome you to today's event. We're going to be talking about breaking in or building up global pathways into tech careers. Now, before we dive in, introduce you to our speaker and get to some of these great questions, I just want to go over some real quick housekeeping. So this will be the first thing I want to show you is our code of conduct. It looks really scary, but truly what it boils down to is don't be a jerk, okay? As long as we operate from a place of kindness and respect, it's pretty hard to go wrong from there. But if you have questions or you want more details on this, you can always DM me in the chat, or you can write to our inbox. Our help desk is hi@powertofly.com. All right, now, as we go through into our housekeeping, this will be especially important and helpful for you if this is your first Power to Fly event. And if that's the case, then hi, welcome! We're so happy to meet you. Now, the love is no less real for my frequent flyers. So whether this is your first event with us or your 40th, thank you so much for joining us. I love seeing your familiar names and faces and avatars in the chat. So thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to spend with Power to Fly and Citi. All right, now the big thing to know about our virtual events is participation. You are absolutely welcome to participate in a multitude of different ways. I always encourage y'all to share, to turn your cameras on, to share your smiling, maskless faces with us safely. But there is no need to be Instagram perfect, okay? We're on like dry shampoo day 2 over here. So whether you are coming to us with a messy buns, bathrobes, furry coworkers, whatever you got, we don't care, okay? We don't want to stand on ceremony. We want to meet you where you are. Now, you don't have to participate with your camera if you don't want to, no pressure. You're always welcome to chime in the chat. Now, I do want to encourage y'all to jump in there and let us know where you're joining us from. I'm coming to you from Toledo, Ohio. This is land that belonged to the Fox, Kickapoo, and Potawatomi tribes in my area. So please feel free to let us know where you're joining us from and if you know whose land you're on. Now, we are recording today as well as, hanging out here and having a great old time. And what that means is you don't have to take notes. It means that you get to relax, enjoy the conversations that we're going to have today, and not worry about if you miss a resource that's listed or a link that's shared, okay? Now, please feel free to keep that chat hopping. Actually, as I move in there, I can see we got people already chiming in. I love this. Let's see, we've got Chandra is in Garland, Texas. Hi, Chandra. Let's see, Sargi is here at the first Power to Fly event from Bangalore. Thank you, Sargi. Tiffany's in Montclair, New Jersey. We've got Babatunde is in Katy, Texas. Dan from Springfield, Illinois. Blessings from Denmark. I love this. Olga's in Texas, more Texas. Oh, y'all, Texas showing up hard for this. I love it. Oh, Delaware. Hi, Athena. George from NYC and Emily coming in from Minneapolis. Thanks so much for joining us, y'all. All right, now, as we get going, if you have questions that you would like to ask of our speaker, please feel free to share those in the chat thread. You can also DM me if you have a question that you would like me to ask and you want to be kept anonymous. Now, before we dive in and I introduce you to our speaker today, I do just real quick want to highlight that she is here today on behalf of Citi. Now, I think most people are aware of Citibank, but working at Citi is far more than just a job. A career with Citi means joining a team of more than 200,000 dedicated people from around the globe. At Citi, you'll have the opportunity to grow your career, give back to your community, and make a real impact. Now, at Citi, they stand firm in their commitment to their values, and they look for people who share those values with them. They believe in doing what is right for their clients as well as for their people. Now, I'm really excited to introduce you to their speaker, but before I do, this is what their company page looks like on powertofly.com. Now, I really encourage you to check this page out. I'll share towards the end of today some tips and tricks about how this page can help you in your job search. But basically what you should know is that if you've got more questions about Citi, check out this page. You can get there by using the QR code that's on the slide in front of you. We're also sharing the link in the chat thread. And we'll keep sharing this information as we go. But you can learn more about Citi there. You can obviously apply to open roles, as well as take a look at past and future events like this one. So, as we keep going, if you have questions about Citi, please feel free to send them in. We want to know what you want to know today. And the Citi team has people standing by, hopefully to get to any questions we're not able to answer on stage. All right, now, very excited to show off our guest today. Now, her name is Candace Smith. She's the managing director in financial services. She's been with financial services for 25 years. So she's got experience in operations, finance, as well as technology. Now, she is the head of enterprise strategic execution for the enterprise technology at Citigroup, where she oversees strategy, governance, and delivery across all critical domains, including application management, agile transformations, workforce transformations, as well as leadership of the LATAM technology cluster. Now, Candace's work empowers global product and engineering teams to drive value as well as outcomes across Citi's core business functions. Previously, Candace began her career on the trading floor at Goldman Sachs and spent 15 years at Deutsche Bank, leading complex strategic, regulatory, and transformation initiatives. She holds dual bachelor's degrees from Rutgers University and is a certified PMP and Scaled Agilist. She's also has specialized training in AI strategy and implementation for IT business leadership. She's a proud native of Trinidad and Kansas. Candace lives in Jacksonville, Florida, with her husband, 4 children, and parents. She also serves on the board and executive community of the Mali Valley Youth Foundation, reflecting her commitment to community impact. Candace, I'm incredibly honored to share the stage with you today. Is there anything else you would like our audience members to know about you before we dive into questions?
No, I think you read it all, but I'm just really honored to be here. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Candace. All right. So, like I said, y'all, if you've got questions or if anything that we're talking about really piques your interest, you want to dive in deeper, you want more, of a follow-up or for listing acronyms, whatever it is, if you've got questions, ask them. Ask early, ask often. You all took the time out of your day to be here with us for the live session. So please, please make the most of that. We want to reward you for spending time with us. So please feel free to drive today's conversation. All right, Candace, to kick us off, I wanted to hear a little bit more about your personal journey. What was your career like, and how did you find your way to Citi and ultimately your current role?
Sure. So my career started off in operations. Straight out of college, I got my first role in operations. As you said, started in at Goldman Sachs. Actually, before Goldman Sachs, my first job was actually in research. I got my job in research, just a research company, just researching stocks and equities. And it was really a monotonous job, but it was the first opportunity just coming out of college, getting my foot in the door, and I took it. But I learned a lot about the industry, and just really kind of just understanding how the markets worked, what it was like, just understanding about stocks and equities, and just I did that for a while, and then I got an opportunity to join Goldman Sachs. And then I joined Goldman Sachs, supporting credit derivatives. At the time, credit derivatives was really new in the industry. It was a new product in the industry. And I learned the trading floor because I joined starting to support traders. And then I moved to supporting sales. And so it was a new product. And working on the trading floor was also new. It was something that also taught me about what I didn't want in my career, because I did not like working on the trading floor. It sounds really exciting because you see it on the TV screen and you're like, oh, that's really cool and fun. But it's not fun for me because it showed me what I didn't want. I didn't like the culture. It was really long hours because they expected you to be there when the traders were there, way before the markets open. I honestly didn't like, it wasn't just the culture that I wanted to be around. And so it showed me where I didn't want my career to go. And I decided that I wanted to more be in the back office of the company. I wanted to support from the back house. And although I learned about credit derivatives, I wanted to more be in the back office, supporting the sales, supporting traders and sales, but really supporting them from the back end. So I moved into more of a middle office function where I was more working with supporting the clients who made sure that their payments, so once they did the trades, I was more making sure that all the informations, once the trades were executed, were done properly. So all the trades and the payments and the confirmations that for the clients went out the door correctly. And that was a job I ended up being in. And I actually really loved it. And that for me really opened up a lot of opportunities because then I understood what the traders and sales needed. I understood what the clients needed from my experience working on the front office and working with the sales desk. And I was able to communicate that to the back end. And that's what led me to move from Goldman Sachs. And I got an opportunity working, and I moved to my other company when an opportunity arose. And that created an opportunity then for me to move to Florida. Because when I moved to that company, they were in a process of change. And it was like, I spent some time in New York and they said, Candace, do you want to move to Florida? And I said, I didn't even know, honestly. I live in Jacksonville now, but I'm from Trinidad. I'm a island girl. I did not like New York at that point in time because my life was changing in terms of priorities. I just had my first child. And while my career was growing, my life in terms of my priorities were changing, and I did not want to be in New York anymore. And I had the opportunity to also grow my career, but also not be in the cold. And so
I can totally
I
understand that.
I aligned both and I moved. I didn't know where Jacksonville existed on the map, but FL equated to being warm, and I hopped on the opportunity and I moved down south to Florida. And that's where I am today, and my family grew because I settled in Florida and with my career. And I had the opportunity to do great things being in Florida because a lot of companies began to move out from New York and expand because everybody thought, well, in order to keep your career, you had to stay in New York. But the industry was changing at that time as well. And a lot of companies were expanding their footprint outside of New York and looking at other lower cost locations. And I was part of that change because my company looked at me as someone to say, can you help us build out a location outside of New York and take the skills to do that? And when I came to Florida, my company at the time tasked me to say, help me build out not just what I was doing in operations, but finance was also moving. And I applied for a role in finance. I didn't know a thing about finance. I had no clue about finance. My degree was economics and history. Finance, people think economics and finance go hand in hand. They did not. I ran away from finance degree because I do not like finance. But when they came, I jumped at the opportunity to go into finance. And that at that point in time, one of the things I realized about my career was that I did not like the day-to-day monotony of a job. I ran to change. I was a change agent. I loved managing change. And so at that time, I began looking at how can I, because I was gravitating to that type of space in my job, I began to go for my PMP certification. And I got my certification. And because I got my certification, I applied for a project manager role in finance. And I got the job. And when I got the job in finance, I learned a lot about finance. And again, same time, a lot was happening in the industry. And I was tasked to lead a very big initiative for the organization, was the implementation of IHC. Because a lot was changing in terms of the companies, all the companies that were non-US companies has to establish an IHC. And so I was tasked to lead that for the organization. And I would say in sequence, that started to prepare me for where I am today in technology, because I had to learn how to start to understand complex systems, integrating and implementing complex systems. Managing change isn't just managing small projects, it's actually establishing big transformation projects and initiatives, leading that. And I worked very closely with my technology counterparts and building out large platforms and integrating large global platforms, and not just in the US, but across different locations, and building out those migration plans. And we did that very successfully. It was tough. I learned a lot, sacrificed a lot of weekends and long nights. But through the failures and the trials, we learned a lot. And it set me up for the next part. And we had to deal with regulators. And that created another opportunity for me in terms of taking on, I would say, a regulatory role, where I had to, they gave me a role to lead some regulatory initiatives for the Americas. So again, I had an opportunity to learn some regulatory initiatives for the CEO for the Americas at the bank, and did that for some time. And then my boss tapped me on the hand and she said, "Candace, can you lead the data program?" And so I led the data program for the bank. And after doing that, I got a call from a recruiter that said, "Are you interested in to come in a role at Citi?" And I was like, I wasn't really looking. I'm kind of happy where I'm at, but I'll be interested to talk about it. And we did. And I was really interested in the role at Citi. I had a long discussion with my husband. And the one thing I didn't want to do was move. But the great thing about being cities in a lot of different locations, they're very flexible. And we had a location that was not too far from my home. And the opportunity was really great because it was leading a group that was focused on the consent order. And the work was really aligned in terms of my experience in terms of remediation and regulatory remediation and transformation, and working in technology, which was also part of what I wanted to do in terms of my career aspirations. And so I took the job, and here I am today, still in technology. And although it's not still what I'm doing specifically when I joined, I've been able to grow and still do different things in my career. Although I've been here, it feels like I've been here over 10 years. I've been here a little over 3 years, but I've done a lot in my 3 years here at Citi, and still been able to grow in my time here as well, in technology. So
That's
it's been
amazing.
amazing.
Well, I love this answer. People were honestly just going crazy in the comments. So I've been trying to see what's going on there. I absolutely love you sharing what you learned from, especially like the first couple of jobs that were not necessarily your cup of tea. Because I feel like that's something that people beat themselves up for a lot, is you get to a job and you're like, I don't like this and I just need to go. And then it's like, for me at least, it leads into a whole bunch of like, why did I do this to myself? And now I have to go job hunt all over again. And now I got to do all this stuff. And it's like a lot of times, especially early on, you have to learn to take stuff from roles that aren't even really giving you much. They're
Mhm.
giving you a lesson. You're learning what you like or don't like. Every bad boss I've ever had, yeah, not great, but it taught me in increments what kind of boss I did not want to be, what kind of
Absolutely.
supervisor I didn't want to be. So I think that's really key to let people know that like you're not alone if you get into a job that you think you were gonna love and then you're like, oh, this isn't it. Like it's okay. You're not the only person to go through this. It's still scary, but it's okay. All right, we have a lot of people wanting to know about moving into a tech field without a tech background. So if people are looking to pivot into a tech field and they are also coming from a non-technical background, what are some of the key transferable skills that people should be highlighting, or that you highlighted, to kind of show that you were applicable to the situation?
Yeah. So I think you definitely need to think of your transferable skills. Transferable skills, critical thinking, analytical thinking, problem solving skills, are the key things, right? You need to also look at the things where, when you look at the industry that you're moving into, there are skills that are demanding in terms of the technology field, right? When you want to get into it, when you think of there's analysis, like so data analysis is key. There's BA skills, so there's BA roles. There's still project manager roles in here, but there's other roles that you want to think of in there. There's Scrum Masters, there's product owners, there's roles like that as well. If you want to go into coding, you can still go into coding and start learning to code on your own. I'm learning it now because I'm doing it on my own. And so think of the type of roles that you want to get into that are in tech, because tech is broad, right? And so you can think of there's cybersecurity, there's risk and control. So when you think of all these type of roles that exist in technology, there's compliance, there's audit. All these roles exist. There's HR. So all these roles exist as part of a technology organization. You need all these roles to support technology. So don't just think of a core technology organization as just needing like one set of skill set. There's many skill set that's needed to support technology organization. What is your strength? What are your core skills that make you intangible, make you an asset, right? That when you show up, there's no other like you, that you bring to the table, that bring your collective experience that you can then showcase, that will allow you to stand out.
Mhm.
That's how I would think about it.
Yeah. Okay. How can somebody identify for themselves what of their current skills are most valuable, especially to a global tech team? I mean, self-evaluation is difficult enough as it is, but what do you recommend somebody do if they're trying to figure out what their skill set is, what is applicable, what they could use?
Yeah. So I think about it is what comes most natural to you. So when I was doing my own, I look at it where what's the thing that I gravitate to the most? That it's I do it and it's natural. And if I ask someone that like I'm really good at, that's the thing I'll point out. Right. If I ask 10 people who I work with and they'd be like, what am I really good at? And they point that out and I do it and I do it well. I can close my eyes and do it in my sleep. And I'll excel at it. That's a thing I will point out. But I would think about that in a concept of what is it that organization and team is looking for. When you look at and you go out and you scan the market, scan for that job market, or that I would look at the industry that you're looking to enter in. What is the things that they're looking for? And you kind of hone in and you kind of do that matching against it. Where do you fit in when you think about what those 10 people identified? And then you match against what they're looking for. Where does that align? And it may not be a perfect fit, but how do you craft it in, right? In terms of that narrative. So I'll use an example to say, all right, they're looking for someone who has been able to demonstrate that they've, I would say, has regulatory experience delivering these strategic initiatives. You may not have the regulatory experience, but you may have been able to deliver some strategic initiatives. Come in
I
and
think,
show how you have delivered those strategic initiatives. You can
yeah.
gain the regulatory experience. That's the on-the-job stuff that you can learn. But show and demonstrate where you've delivered some complex strategic initiatives. And that's the type of thing that you may want to come in and be able to demonstrate where you have been able to show some complex areas where you have been able to drive and lead some complex transformation in a way that it may not be directly in the field, but you can transfer that critical, complex problem solving skills and show that you can do that in a different way and learn the other elements of the job. That's what they will be looking for. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, so we actually got a question in the comments that dovetails really nicely like this. Sargi or Sargi, apologies if I'm butchering someone's name. I'm so sorry. Um, but she had asked, you joined a financial services firm without knowledge in finance. Do you think that you got the start because they saw you as young and teachable? I love this question because, especially coming from a younger person, I also think it's a valuable question for people who are on the older end of the spectrum. I and like potentially going to change careers or move industries. So what do you think? Do you think that part of that appeal was because you were young and teachable?
The way I see it is that don't question why they picked you. They picked you because they saw something in you, right? You were selected because they saw value in you. So why question it?
Yeah,
Why
that's
question
fair.
why question why you were selected?
Yeah.
Go in the fact that you were selected. That means they saw you as the ideal candidate that they wanted to choose. They could have chosen anyone else. They had to go through a selection process before they even had to meet you. There was thousands of resumes to be screened, how many candidates they met, and you were the one that was chosen. Why question it? Don't even question it. Go in and know that you were selected for the job and you have all the capabilities and skills to do the job. Don't let doubt set in because the question means there's doubt. Don't let doubt set in. Just go
Well,
in that you have it because
and
you were
and
selected.
well, and don't think of something like your youth, which is a vanishing commodity,
Right.
as the reason you got something in the past, because then it's all that's going to do is set you up for, well, I did it back then when I was young and hot, and now I'm not because blah, 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 blah. And we're not going to finish that sentence because it's all lies anyway. Like,
Exactly.
yes, yes, I love this. Okay. All right, we've got more questions coming in, so thank you, Sargi, for that question. That was a good one. All right, let's talk about career mobility. Um, if you are in a position where you're trying to stay adaptable and keep like evolving and growing, what are some strategies you use to stay up to date? Because it can feel very overwhelming to try and stay up to date on anything, like basic news or like whatever. So for you, what strategies do you recommend for staying up to date?
Yeah, so I one of the things I do is I'm very selective about the groups that I join. So there's key groups I'm joining. I'm actually at a conference right now because that's a group that I selectively chose to join. I attend certain industry events because I want to stay abreast of what's happening in the industry. I subscribe to certain subscriptions because I want to read what's happening again in the industry. I also make sure that I keep myself aware and educated. So I also make sure like I'm continuously learning and educate myself. So I make sure that sometimes I build up my own development plan. So I educate myself and make sure I do certain certifications a year. I also that's part of my own development plan. And so those are the type of things I do so that I don't overwhelm myself, but I make sure that it's part of my continuous development. I'm keeping abreast of what's happening in the industry and surround myself with the type of people and leaders within the industry that are the trendsetters. And I'm aware of what's happening. And then also with that, I attend certain sessions, conferences. Once a month, I will attend certain seminars. I listen to certain podcasts. So those are the things that kind of keep me fresh. And then my own educational development are things that I do where I invest in myself, which is equally important for me. Because if I don't invest in me, who will? That's my own saying, right? If I don't invest in Candace,
Yeah.
who's going to invest in me?
Well, yeah, and I think that's something that we used to talk a lot more about, but no one's ever going to care as much about your career as you do. And that's fine. That's honestly how it should be. But it means that unless you, if you want to go someplace and you're not, working towards it, no one's going to drag you there and no one's going to be able to tell, like, help you if they don't know where that you're trying to get someplace in the first place. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Um, how how important, if you're looking at moving into a new career field, or if you're just trying to aim for career mobility within the tech space, where is the balance between the importance of learning new technical skills versus continuing to develop your soft skills? Do you think that one weighs more heavily than the other if you are specifically aiming for career mobility?
I think they're equally both important. So I don't think there's one over the other. So technical skills is important. So you need to definitely understand where the industry is going. Like everyone knows AI is happening. If you don't make sure that you are abreast of what's happening in AI, you will get left behind. That is, I mean, I think everyone in the industry at this point should know that. So if you are not using the tools, if you're not abreast of what's happening, if you're not thinking about or are already implementing them as part of your processes, you will get left behind. So I think of that. If you're thinking of data, if you're thinking about, those changes and trying to make sure that your technical skills are updated, you will be, you will not be, I think of in terms of mobility, you will find it very difficult. In the same way, I think your soft skills are equally important. I think those are things when I think about your communication skills, when you think about those type of things as well, you need to think about that as you look at where your development plans are. I also think nobody should know you better than yourself. So when you're thinking about your own development plan and you're thinking about career mobility, it's important that you sit down and reflect on where do you need to develop, and where we talked about investing in yourself. And as you think about investing in yourself, it's a balance between your technical and your soft skills. And where do you need to think about investing in both places? And it doesn't need to be, when I think investing, I'm not talking about investing financially, investing time. Time is a resource. And so it's taking the time to work on your soft skills sometimes. And so build out the plan. So if there's areas in your soft skills that you need to work on, make a plan and invest in that. So that if you want to go an interview and that's something when you want to communicate or articulate what you've done and the impact you've made, and you struggle with that, practice. If you struggle in front of getting in front of people and public speaking is not your strong point, practice. Take the time. So those are the things I would say it's important that you work on, because it's equally important, because they can hurt you if you want to think about career mobility.
It's kind of the hand in the glove thing. You are going to need both of them, and having a little bit more of one or the other can be okay. You can kind of balance out, but you don't want to be necessarily like
Yes.
rocking a 90-10 split. Um, okay, we have one other really good question kind of in this area. When it comes to, career mobility, there's a lot of people navigating career change right now, and it can be very difficult to stay motivated and maintain momentum. Ona Mumtaz wrote in specifically, she said, sorry, how do you stay confident looking for what you want in such a tough job market? I battle with the fear that maybe I should just take anything I can get to make ends meet. It's hard to think about what makes me irreplaceable when it seems like even the jobs I feel overqualified for aren't taking me further in the interview process. The imposter syndrome is bad. Ona, I just want to tell you, you are not alone in that. You are not alone. It is rough. It is rough. It's rough in these streets. It's hard. And the job search, especially, is rife with imposter syndrome and ways to like kind of get undercut in ways that you didn't know your feelings could get hurt. So you're not alone in this. Candace, what would you tell Ona? How do you recommend people try and kind of stay confident?
Yeah, and it is hard because there's a lot of applicants for one job, right? It's overwhelming. The way I would say is that just celebrate every win that you get. So and just every time you just even apply and you get a reply, celebrate the reply. Every time so that at least keep you motivated. Even every day that you go in and you say, you know what, I'm gonna just and stay at it. Stay at it where you set the goals. So make small goals and celebrate small wins. And so it just kind of keeps you in the game. And don't always feel like you need to, and you need to feel like you have to tell yourself, because you just mentioned, and I don't want to paraphrase it the wrong way, you're overqualified. Because you then, I think, saying what other people, you kind of taking that definition of what you think you need to diminish yourself. You don't, right? Don't diminish yourself because of the circumstance of what you think things may be. I don't want you to think that that's what you have to do. But celebrate the wins. Celebrate the wins and set the small goals, because just like that, it might change. And it's the breakthrough that you just got to stay and wait for that breakthrough opportunity. And I don't want you to feel like the breakthrough is not going to come, because you keep pressing through and that breakthrough is going to come.
Yeah.
And I've a lot of people that come and say, oh, Candace, I got this and I got that. And they've been like applying for a long time, and then they got that opportunity. So just make just a goal. If I'm going to apply X amount every day, and if you got that reply back, or you got that interview, you mightn't even get through, but you got that interview. But that one interview prepares you for the next interview, and then the next interview, and the next interview. And just celebrate that you got that interview, because then you get that next interview, it helps you make sure that the other interview, even better for the other interview, and then the other interview. So just celebrate each and every one.
I love this advice, especially when it can feel dating and job and like job searching can feel very similar, and you kind of get your heart hurt in different ways, and one of them involves your health insurance. So it's a lot, okay? Like there's a lot of emotions that go through people's minds. It is very, very easy, especially in this economy, especially, in the days in which we are living. So please, y'all, please don't feel alone in this. I know it is really hard. Reach out if you have any other friends who are job seeking. There's also a really good Reddit community for this. It can honestly be helpful just to vent to other people who are job seeking. And a lot of times when we're going through it, maybe nobody else in our immediate life is going through it. So it can feel very alone. But
And I'm going to
please,
say
y'all.
one thing. I said, one of the things I always, truly believe words have power. And so change the words. Instead of I'm overqualified, say I have all the qualifications to get my ideal job. My ideal job is waiting for me. Like, speak it instead of the framing it and saying it that way. Every day you go in and you get up, say that, like, so that you declare that that's happening. And so those words every time, and it's gonna come.
Yeah. You're not overqualified. You have all the skills needed to
All the
succeed in that
skills
role.
needed. Yes.
I like that. All right, let's keep moving here. Oh, we did have a really good question, actually. Sorry, I do want to take this one a little bit out of order. Where did it go? Just have all right, we'll keep moving. All right, let's talk about development insights. For Citi, are there qualities or even just experiences that hiring managers might look for when you're recruiting for an evolving tech role, like specifically for Citi?
So I think when you think about Citi's a global company, and so I think when you think about it, it's like I look at having an experience that where you have a diverse experience, especially managing a complex organization, right? So being able to navigate complexity, especially a diverse teams. So working in diverse teams, because most of our teams, you're working across diverse locations, being able to work, especially cross cultures, being able to understand and being able to work in multicultural teams, I think is also important as well. And being able to navigate across complexity. And I look at that, and I think many managers look at that when you're able to solve and navigate complex solutions and complex problems, for me is also key. So when you think about that in terms of interviewing, being able to bring in those examples of being able to do those things and where you've been able to deliver those things in an organization and make real impact is key. I think doing that in an interview and demonstrating that in terms of your experience will make a big difference. So I think that's what we look for, especially at Citi, in the nature of the roles and the organization that we have. It'll be instrumental.
Okay. All right. I'm loving all of this. We did have one question come in. This one's a bit off the cuff, so apologies if you don't have an answer for us. This person, where was it? Astrid. Astrid had asked, besides finance or baking, what are some hot industries that you think might be worth exploring if you're interested in tech?
So you mean within tech?
I think
Within tech,
so.
Astrid? So within
Yeah,
tech,
great for tech.
great for tech. So I would say cybersecurity it's great. You can do data is also great as well. Data is in any organization. It's also you can't, data is key, right? Data is an asset. Every organization needs data as well. Risk and control is also key. Audit compliance, because second and third line, it's also key as well. They're also because they're components within technology, right? As well, when you think about it within tech, because they're also key in terms of partnering and working within technology. There's specific key elements within tech, and when I think about it as well, so you have your core engineering roles within technology, if you want to go down that route. Even there's the specific quality engineering spaces within technology, if you want to go down those specific roles within technology as well that are specific. And then you have so you have your business and analyst roles. You have your data scientist roles. So those are the core kind of technology roles that you would want to go in. You have your DevOps roles within technology. So those are the ones that your core specific ones. But if you want to have it call your I call it non-traditional, your risk and control, your data scientists, your data operations that support, and then you have your risk and control components, your second and third line, which are your audit and your compliance.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Astrid, for that great question. All right. What do you think? How if you're a candidate, you're in the interview process and you're trying to demonstrate adaptability. How have you seen this done well before? Do you have a line that you used when you were trying to showcase your adaptability to hiring managers?
Sure. So adaptability is key because we live in a space that change, like a culture in an industry that's constantly changing. So adaptability is really when you are able to respond to change. So I'll use the system or an example of, a system goes down, or regulatory, you get a regulatory response where you have to basically just deliver and respond to the regulatory response within a short time. How do you pivot and do that? It is something that we have to do. You literally have to, you get 2 weeks to come up with a plan and rally. Or the system goes down and you have to be able to get it back because there's continuity, right? And the clients are waiting. How are you able to demonstrate that as well, and get the systems back up and you have the teams working overnight, or you have a tight deadline, and not you're behind. There's times where we've had teams working round the clock, weekends, overnight, having you having teams around the globe hand off. You're literally handing off to teams, follow the sun model, just to get the deadlines met. So when you think about adaptability, it's being flexible, it's being innovative, it's kind of thinking out of the box, solutions, to come up and solve the problem at hand, and being able to do those things and showing that you're driving and delivering change for the organization, and do that in a way that they can rely on you. And that's when I think about adaptability, but also doing that not just as an individual, but as a collective. And you're not thinking of you, but you're thinking about the organization, because you're thinking about the organization first and the clients. Those are the two things that's important, not you, because you're willing to sacrifice whatever it takes to get the job done. Whether it's the system, whether it's the deadline, whether it is, and we as a collective, you're working together to get that done.
Okay. Okay. All right, before we leave kind of the professional development area, what advice would you give people who are trying to network and build connections in the tech industry, especially if you are either, fresh out of college or fresh grad, or maybe you're just you're changing careers, pivoting, whatever it might be. What should people know about networking and why and how to build those connections?
Yeah. So we're in the age of, we know internet, it's around, join LinkedIn groups, the ones that in the field that you want to go into. So there's so many out there. Don't just join to join, because then you'll be overwhelmed. Join the ones that are aligned to the field you want to go into, that will educate you, that will connect you with the right leaders in the industry. And most of those groups have events. And so you'll then be able to stay up to date what's happening in the industry. A lot of them are free, and some of them may have membership with a small membership or annual membership. But for starters, if you don't want to pay anything, join for free and see what's going on and see if they pique your interest. And then go to some of the events that's happening, and then you connect. That's what I do. And then if they piques my interest, then I'll be like, oh, I want to join. And then you connect, and then you find real relationships that are lasting. You want to build relationships, not just to connect and just build you want to build lasting relationships, meaningful relationships. And that's what you want to do in terms of building up your career, because you want to build those, that I call it, true mentors, true champions, true people that can help you navigate through your career, as you kind of grow in the industry. And I also find it very helpful to volunteer. So when you get into that network, and they have a lot of them have volunteer events, go volunteer. A lot of them do a lot of stuff in the community. And so you do it not just to do it, but you really give back to the community that you want to be a part of as well. And that's how I actually started my career. I started joining and I started giving back to the community. I actually started going to the schools and doing stuff in the schools, and it's meaningful. You're not just doing it because, oh, I'm just networking, and now you're doing it because you have a purpose, right? Not just about me. It's bigger than me at that point. You're actually doing something that's greater than you, and you're doing for the wider community and giving back. And so I think about it from those two fronts: join it for the network, join it where you build meaningful relationships, and volunteer so that you can actually contribute back to the community that you're part of.
Heck yes. Oh, I'm loving this advice. This is fabulous. Let's see, we've got a little under 10 minutes left, and a couple more questions to get through. Actually, we did get one super early on, that I wanted to make sure we touched on. Evelyn had asked, I'm curious to hear more about what it was like the first time you were tasked with leading larger projects, stepping from an IC or individual contributor role into a leadership role. I'm curious if you struggled with imposter syndrome or setbacks along the way. So let's talk about this. When you went from smaller stuff to taking on bigger and bigger projects, what was that like for you?
Ooh, it was scary. Um, it was extremely scary. I'll tell you the actual scenario. I stepped into a role, and this is when I actually moved, and I was tasked to lead this massive project, that same project I told you about, delivering on the IHC. And I was scared. I, I was scared crapless. I don't use foul language, but I was scared crapless. And I remember being told, I went to New York, our headquarters, and I was leading these meetings, and everybody I spoke to, the guy who I took the role from, he was an expert. He was an expert in finance, but he wasn't really an expert project manager. I would say, I could say it now. I love him. We're really great friends. And everybody I met was like, "Oh, Candace, we should have kept him on the project because you got big shoes to fill." Like they kept saying that over and over and over to me. You got big shoes to fill. You got big shoes to fill. And I went back to my hotel every night that week and I binged eat. I bought pizza and I stuffed my face. And I
Yeah,
would like
Candace.
had the pizza box on my bed where I would like binge eat the whole pizza and I stuffed myself and I'll feel till I was sick. And I called my husband. I'm like, I can't do this. I don't know. They picked the wrong person for the job. I don't think I could do this. And I cried and binge eat. And my husband said to me, you better suck it up. You can do this. And he was like, the last day I was supposed to get on that flight, he said to me, you better not call me again and say that to me, because guess what? You may have tiny feet, but his shoe is too small. Your feet are too big. He can't walk in your shoes. And I left my hotel that morning and I said, I'm going to do this job because he can't walk in my shoes. And from
Mhm.
that day on, I kept telling myself, I'm going to do this because he can't walk in my shoes.
Mhm.
And every time somebody talked to me and they said, oh, I miss so and so and so, you got a big job to do. I said to them, no, my feet are too big because I can do this job. My feet are too big to walk in these shoes, in his shoes. So that's
Yes.
how I responded. And I kept telling myself that to fight that imposter syndrome and feed into everyone else's expectations of me. So yes, it's there. And is it hard to fight? Yes. But what I learned from that is that I can't define myself based on what people think of me. I have to know what I can do. I have to be confident in what I can do. And I have to step in the shoes that I was born to walk into.
I love that so incredibly much. Shreya is commenting in the chat. They say, I read an article about the tall poppy syndrome, which can happen to anybody who's trying their best and succeeding in their career. But it was surprising to me that it happens way more to women. I think that that makes a ton of sense. And something that I heard a couple weeks ago that is like kind of mind blowing for me is like if you're sitting with this imposter syndrome, right, and feeling like I girl bossed a little too close to the sun and maybe finessed a bit and now people think I can do all these things that I can't, or they're going to find out that I'm not as good as I was, blah blah. unless you went into this thinking like, oh, I'm gonna trick them, and you just now think that you've tricked everybody, you haven't tricked anyone. Okay. You haven't. You're able to do it. You are. And the feeling is normal, completely normal. But if you weren't going into the interview being like, Mwahaha, I didn't graduate from Mount Holyoke, like they don't know these things. You know what I mean? Like you're making up a story in your head, which doesn't make it not real, but it's still, there's no evidence outside of it. So please, please, please remember, y'all, you really are, you have the opportunity to control how you're going to react. And I completely agree with Candace. You can't react based on what you think other people are going to think of you. Mm. All right. We have about 5 minutes left. I know we've got a couple questions. Let's see here. Did we have anything else that was audience? Not yet. What global trends should professionals keep an eye on to future-proof their careers? So right now everybody's talking AI, right? I feel like very much like The Graduate, where they're just like plastics. You have to be in plastics. So what do you like? What should people be on the lookout for? Do you think there's anything that's going to be like, what's the next big thing?
So you have AI now. I think agentic AI is also on there's Gen AI, there's agentic AI, which is also making its way, that's changing. I think there's also AI is going to be around for a while, because what it's also saying is that we know that, I think that I was reading an article, it says the World Economic Forum has predicted in the next 5 years about 40, I think 40, over 40% of the skill set of our workforce is going to change, right? And we don't know, and that's not just in technology, that's all of our workforce. And that's the cognitive skills of our workforce. So we haven't even seen the impact. We're talking about that's the analytical skills of our workforce.
Mm.
And so we haven't seen that yet. That's 5 years. You're talking about healthcare, you're talking about teaching, you're talking about all of that aspects of our workforce. The automotive industry. We're talking about all the different aspects of our workforce that we need to see. We have to look at what that means within the workforce, right? And so I think we have to look at what that means. And that's going to also have, for me, a lot within the geopolitical landscape as well. So when we think about what that means for us, it's going to be a lot to be seen. And I think we just need to look at, for me, when I think about skills, we just constantly looking at how we could just look at upskilling ourselves all the time on all ends. That's how I see it for me. Honestly, that's how I'm seeing it for my kids. I have my oldest I have a wide range. My oldest is in college and my youngest is in first grade. And
Girl,
so I have a range, right?
range. You have a spread. Dear
Yes,
Lord,
I have a
you've been
spread,
doing diapers
right?
for like
Yes.
20 years.
So, and I tell them all, like, the skills that I need for all of them to keep up. It's vast. Like I'm constantly telling my 20-year-old, like, you're going to graduate and what you're entering into the workforce, it's going to change. And I'm thinking about my first grader, what you're going to get going into the workforce is going to be, I can't even imagine. So all of us are constantly going to be just thinking about what it means for us. And so for all of us, I'm just thinking you're going to just have to be looking at emerging technology a year from now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, and just making sure you stay abreast, we all stay abreast of that, and upskilling ourselves consistently so that whether you're in the market, changing your industry, or entering in the market, you setting yourself up for success. Because if you don't, you will be left behind. That's the advice I'm giving myself, I'm giving my children, and I'm going to give to you.
I like that. Keep looking forward. Kind of keep your finger on the pulse. I think that's good advice. Candace, the time always goes way too fast, but I just want to say a huge thank you. It's been wonderful to spend the last hour with you and learn from you. Thank you so, so much for gracing us with your presence and sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, obviously, we also want to thank Citi for extending Candace to us for the afternoon. So we love that. And honestly, I love working with the Citi team. Y'all are always so incredibly prepared. So thank you all to everybody, especially all the behind the scenes people that allow Candace and I to get up here and make it all look so good. So thank you all to all of you. I also want to extend a big thank you to the audience members as well. As always, I love when you come to these events because it means I have a job. But I love even more that you came because you just took 60 minutes out of your day to do something positive for yourself and your career. That is not easy. So whether you are a little treat person or not, listen to Meg, okay? Give yourself the gold star, the cookie, the pat on the back, coffee drink, maybe not Starbucks is all I'm saying. But do it, y'all. You deserve something for spending the time and trying to better yourself. So thank you so so much for spending the last hour with Power to Fly and Citi. Incredibly excited to hopefully see some Power to Fly success stories come out of today's event. I do just want to highlight their company page. It's on the screen. You see it right here. If you did not stick around earlier, basically what you should know about is this big follow button. Smash that. It is going to be your best kind of like silver bullet. It'll help Power to Fly tell Citi that you are interested in working with them even before you fill out an application. So it is an excellent option if you are actively job seeking but don't see a role right now that's like perfect for you to apply to. It also means that even if you're not actively job seeking, the next time you are curious about what is out there, you can come back to Power to Fly and you already have a short list of companies that you know and that you trust to really walk the walk and talk the talk. So I very much recommend that. It also allows Power to Fly to keep Citi on your radar because we'll let you know when they post new roles or they've got new events like this happening. So that way you don't miss out. Um, if this was your first Power to Fly event, I sincerely hope it will not be the last. And if this was anywhere from your second to your 50th, then I cannot wait to see you back here on our next great event. Go out, have the day that you voted for, and do something nice for somebody else today. Okay.